Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Rajiv Chopra, and I am going to take you through a very quick edit to demonstrate how to use the color grading tool in Adobe Lightroom. And it'll work the same way in Adobe Camera Raw, and it'll also work the same way in Adobe Lightroom Classic. I'm not going to take you through the Lightroom Classic workspace today. That will happen a few videos from now. I had planned it actually for the next video, but maybe later. What I've already done is to denoise the image, even though it was strictly not necessary. What I'm now going to do is to first remove this particular distraction. So I will go to the Remove tool. I will use generative AI this time, even though strictly speaking, it's not required. And because this is a short edit, I'm using my mouse, but I recommend using a Wacom tablet. And for those who are interested, I will include a link to the Wacom products in the description of this video. And I'm going to ask it to remove this. So we need to wait. It's using AI. I could have removed it without using AI, but I decided to let the AI function move. And as you can see, the area here has gone. Now what I'd like to do is to visualize the dust if it's possible. So I'm going to visualize the spots. I'm going to remove the dust. I'll say click apply. And again, it takes its time. In this case, it's less than 10 seconds, which is not bad. Huh? And as you can see, there were a few dust spots which Lightroom has removed. I now go back to the editing panel by pressing the shortcut E or these three little lines here. I am using the Adobe Neutral profile. So you can use the adaptive profile if you want to, and Adobe will give you an edit. Not too bad. You can use Adobe Color, adaptive black and white if you want to. Now these are the adaptive color and the adaptive black and white are two AI let's say tools which you can use if you want, and of course you can browse profiles. I like to use neutral profiles, so normally I will go in for a camera profile, so I will tend to use let's say the linear profile for Nikon, but not everyone has that, so let's use the Adobe Neutral, and we can go back. The reason why I often start with the neutral profile is because you strip away color and it gives you a bit more flexibility in your editing. Many people disagree, but that's their problem. Now, there's not too much I'm going to do in the masking out here because the sky is going to be very difficult to mask out. So let's do something anyway. A little bit of reduction in the... I won't do too much in the highlights. I will not do much in the shadows. I'm going to leave the whites alone. I'll go to the effects, increase the texture slightly. I almost never touch the clarity unless I have to. I'm going to remove the haze slightly, very slightly. Let's see what I can do for color. I almost never use the color mixer, so I'm going to use the point color. So here, and let's see what range it will. And it's done a pretty good selection, so I can now increase the saturation of the greens if I want to. I can increase or reduce the luminance. Maybe I'll reduce it. Now I'm going to do something for the water. If I visualize the range, I find it's getting something of the building and the trees, which I don't want, so I will ignore it. Now let's go to the masking. You access masking by pressing this icon or the shortcut M. In this particular case, I will go straight to the landscape, and Adobe is going to detect the landscape for me and the various elements of the landscape. So give it some time. And while it's doing its magic, I want to point out that it's always best to spend as little time in the global editing panel. Just do your basic adjustments and then head over to masking, because that's where most of the magic really happens. And you can do a lot of stuff with the localized masking and create some absolutely fantastic results in your image. It's taking much more time than I would have liked. But again, I want to reiterate, whether you're using Adobe Camera Raw, Lightroom Classic, or Lightroom or Adobe Photoshop, most of the magic of editing lies in masking. And that's really where it is pure genius. What's also happened with Adobe Lightroom Classic and Adobe Camera Raw, which make it absolutely fantastic for most photographers, for most of the users, is that you can layer the masks one on top of the other. So if you don't like what you've done, you can delete the masks. And that's brilliant, because when you do that, then you actually are entering the world of kind of non-destructive editing. But this is taking a very long time, so forget it. Let's use the linear gradient, which is you get. Now I will drag it. Now here you see the red overlay tells me where the masking is going to happen, and this gradation from the red all the way down tells me where the mask actually is, and you will see it again out here on top. And now here I'm going to just reduce the exposure. I'm going to increase the contrast. Now I'm going to try the point color. Come on, select away. And now that I've selected the point color, you will find that it's only going to affect the water. So again, I'm going to increase the saturation. Do I want to reduce? I'm going to increase the luminance, the variance, go back to the light, and I'm going to increase the contrast again. Again, here I will increase the texture just because I want to, that's all. Now I'll press this plus icon on top to create another mask. Let's see now if it detects the landscape or not. But it's taking a long time. So I will let it pass. I will now see if it selects the sky. And if it does, it might select this foggy, misty part. And it's done a pretty decent job of getting the sky. And all I want to do here is to dehaze it slightly. Never ever dehaze your image to the point where it is looks artificial. And now I'm going to use a color range mask. This color range. Oopsie. And now I will refine this mask. So I'm going to subtract the sky. I will now subtract the linear gradient. Here we go. And there. And as you can see now, this white part is the mask, and it's selected only the mountains. Now, if I want, again, I'm going to increase the texture, slight bump in the clarity, and a slight increase in the temperature. Make it slightly green. Select the color again. There we go. Saturation shift. Variance now. Luminance shift. Do I want to dehaze this part? Maybe slightly. There you go. It's much clearer now. And now if you actually go back, I'll show you the before and the after. The before and the after. As you can see, there's a massive change. Now I am going to work on the reds. So the color, again the point color, click the red, visualize the range. It's actually chosen the red perfectly. I'm going to darken it, increase the saturation, and I'm done with this. Now let's look at the color grading. For color, I don't generally like to use color grading in Lightroom, in Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw, simply because it's difficult to control, and it is also very difficult to actually control the intensity of the color grade. You can either do it globally, or you can do it, you can focus your edits on the highlights, midtones, and the shadows separately. So if I now work only on the overall, let's assume I give it an overall tint, which I don't particularly like, and that's one simple color grade. I'll double click this point to reverse it. So I'm going to use color grading a bit differently. I have chosen a color palette from Adobe's color site, which is colors.adobe.com. And again, I'm going to link to the site below. This is the color palette, which is a bit odd. So I'm going to make the highlights orangish actually, and the shadows more greenish, and the midtones a bit more in the green cyan range. So this is what you might call a split complementary. So let's go to the highlights. I will now push the highlights a little bit towards the orange, actually more towards this side. Move it up slightly. As you can see, it's happening. I'm going to make it a bit brighter, blend it in properly. And now I'm going to move to the midtones. The midtones, like I said, I wanted to move more towards this greenish range. Again, you don't take it all the way up, because then you can end up with a very strange image. Balance a little bit more towards the highlights. No, make it a little bit cooler, slightly towards the highlights. Now I'll move to the shadows, and so you can actually move the colors around like here. So when you move this little circle around, you're changing the hue. When you move it along this line, you are actually changing the saturation. But go very easy on changing the saturation, because you can really go over the top. And again, the balance with so here we are done with this particular image, before and after, before and after. Now, unfortunately, like I said, let's go back to the overall color grade, and let's make it slightly towards the magenta-ish. No, take it slightly towards the blue, and we are done. So now I'm not asking you to like this particular image or dislike it, but I just wanted to show you how it's done. Now, unfortunately, what you can't do is to reduce the intensity. So the way that you reduce the intensity is actually by working a little bit on the overall luminance. So if you want the shadows to be a bit darker, you work a little bit on the blending. So I moved the blending towards the highlights, and the image has become more oranges, which is a bit strange. Or if I want to cool it down, I'll move it towards the shadows and midtone side. But I give it a slight blend move that way. Is this something which you think is better? Or do you prefer this one with the reddish hue? Maybe I will stay with this reddish hue. And after, before and after. So when you are working on your image, it's always good to keep color grading for the end. You can, of course, use mask to color grade each section separately, which I have not done, but keep the color grade for the end, because if you keep it for the beginning, then what's going to happen to you is that you're going to end up with an image that you might not like, and all your edits will go haywire. So keep your color grading for the end, and I hope you have fun with color grading. I will see you in the next video, and in the next video I will take you from Lightroom into Photoshop, and in Photoshop I will use Color FX Pro to grade an image. Now for Color FX Pro you need to buy the Nick suite, which is absolutely fantastic, and it's got some pretty nice filters. The one I use most often is Nick Silver FX Pro for black and white conversions, but what I've seen recently in their latest version with Nick Color FX Pro and Nick Analog FX, you can create some interesting effects, but don't overuse them, otherwise your images will look a bit, how do I put it, a bit too gimmicky. I'm going to apply a slight sharpening, but as you can see, I'm very slight amount of sharpening, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with this image. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something from it. And if you want me to do another color grading video, let me know. See you next time. Rajiv Chopra saying goodbye for now. Ciao, and see you in the next video.